When we are doing the will of our true self, we are inevitably doing the will of the universe. In magic, these are seen as indistinguishable. That every human soul is in fact one human soul. It is the soul of the universe itself. And as long as you are doing the will of the universe, then it is impossible to do anything wrong.
Between everybody and his total environment.
When we are doing the will of our true self, we are inevitably doing the will of the universe.
The will of the universe. That was a hiccup. Welcome, dear friends, fellow haunts, guests to Pragmagick. I am Keats Ross. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Trying a new microphone today. And it behooves me to do sort of an end of the Gregorian year stream. Not only because, with all of the tundras of amazing works that I was loosely connected to, I created, but also the just gallons upon gallons of brilliant artwork that we the Hallowed had been a part of, that Pragmagick had sat in the kind of backseat to, the people that I've connected to, the friends, all of that has brought me joy, but it also has reminded me that there were some heavies this year. So it's my plan to not only discuss all the wonderful creations and the magics casted, but also to kind of, toil a little bit in what I call the deep ratitudes and say la vie 2022. Here's to the year of the coyote 2023. So welcome. Thank you for joining. My first guest, without further ado, was one of the highlights of my year. I know that a lot of folks have written to me about me kind of being less on the interview scale of Pragmagick. And that's solely because Pragmagick has always been an avenue for me to speak with people that inspire me. And sometimes, there's ebbs and flows of that. I had to reformat Pragmagick to something that spoke more to me. So it was more of a creative outlet with things like the Haunt Manual and all of that, which we'll go into later, but also saving and kind of relishing interviews with people that really did sing to me this year. And on Halloween, one of those people was JJ of Reine De Blanc Jewelry. So welcome, JJ.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, of course.
Nice to be back.
It always feels, I always feel so out of shape doing these things. It's funny if you don't just keep it on. But as we were talking about before the show, going over my notes for all that was casted in 2022, it is wondrous how much shit went down, personally, especially, but also, in the somatic shared reality that we all toil in.
Right. It was oh man, just collectively, and it just seemed like everything was just in a hyper mode, I would say.
Yeah. A hyper normalized mode too, I think.
Yeah.
It was kind of this cadence of, after everything that had been down, in 2020 and 2021, there was this weird cadence of my, shit floor was raised. So I don't really feel that much substrate underneath it anymore that I would have, maybe a couple of years ago. So it's definitely allowed me to kind of, pierce through that substrate and things that were maybe truly remarkable and not to get too bent out of shape about the things we cannot change, as they say, right?
Yeah, well, that's, I think, been a huge lesson in these past almost 3 years now, is to really become malleable and, become that silver surfer and ride the waves through all of these really unstable, uncertain times of both the collective and the personal stuff.
Yeah.
Gotta stay weak in the knees, I guess.
Well, it's a boat leg year for sure. Or the
Yeah.
sea legs, But yeah, and it's just a smorgasbord of things that I was writing down. Not only, as I said in the beginning, of things that I created, but watched other people create too, that moved me and inspired me. And it felt like for the first time we could kind of, huff that ghost gas that's above that dark substrate a bit. And like really get back into this rhythm of what makes us as I don't want to sound all pretentious, but like as artists or creators, or being able to compartmentalize the stuff that would get into the way of that relationship, and yeah, kind of keep on keeping on. It also, magnanimously was a fervent year for personal change and growth, and relocation. I know for you had just, right, it was this
Oh,
year.
yeah, yeah. I had a lot of, there was like about 5 months where I didn't have a stable living space. So it's kind of all over the place, and then finally landed here.
Yeah.
A
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
big change.
right? You hit it. You hit right before the polar vortex 2022.
Oh, yes. Thank goodness.
Yeah, but yeah. So, but at the same time, parallel to that, and I think this is going to be the constant theme with this entire show, whatever this is. There's no rhyme or reason, really. Just because I'm wearing a tie doesn't mean I know how to tie it, right? So we're gonna find out just how wavy these waters are that we're gonna be surfing, as you said. The Silver Surfer, those cosmic rays. Um, but you parallel to everything that was happening in your life, I feel like skyrocketed in a sense of your own creative endeavors and a lot of the passions. And I feel like your business, as it were, even though it is pretty much your artistic output, has done really well this year. And I feel that I feel copacetic to that as well. Like there's something we share there where
Yeah,
things
you
were.
seem to have a great parallel to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So was there, after this finding the landing, did you feel that kind of cascade of needing, to finally find the rhythms of work again? Or you were always kind of just surfing along that, right?
Yeah, I really I was feeling that itch. It's really crucial for me to create constantly. I mean, I'm sure you understand the creativity is happening on many levels. A lot of it is a mental process. And so I always had things spinning in my head of things I wanted to get working on when I finally had a space to work in again. Um, and that kept me going. And I've tried to just constantly find ways to feel like I was still relevant, even though I couldn't really make anything during that time. I was, in between living situations. Um,
Relevant to like your
just
connection to.
everything. Like for
Yeah.
me, because what I'm doing right now is really uh, a big part of my income. Um, I feel like I have to keep on top of that as far as constantly posting things. Because people are very, the attention span is non-existent basically these days. Maybe it's a little better in some sense, and other ways it's like worse than ever. So people will forget about you if you don't keep constantly, hey, I'm here. Like
Interesting.
just
Yeah.
showing it. So I felt like I had to constantly keep posting on Instagram and Twitter and all that, and kind of like recycling through my work to see what might still be appealing, and also for myself. I like to go back and revisit things that were probably really great ideas that I didn't spend enough time and attention on. So yeah, during all that time, I just was trying to find new ways to keep it going. And I was really ready to get out the gate and do stuff when I got here. And thankfully, I didn't really miss a beat. And things have just been going really pretty smoothly, really well, considering. I mean, when you're not able to work for 5 months or even longer, it's kind of scary and also frustrating.
Yeah.
So I'm thrilled that things are as good as they are at this point in the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean when they need to be too, right? I mean there's
Right.
a lot of outside factors, whether it's sentimentality with, familial aspects or weather, right? It's like all of these things kind of add up to this conundrum of the winter of I need to be warm and to take care of myself, but at the same time, you know, there's all of these factors that are beating down on me in a way.
Yeah, it feels like there's a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles.
Mhm.
But that's another thing I've learned over the years is that life just keeps going. We can't
Mhm.
just, like, there was a period, I'd say in 2020 and part of 2021 that I felt like I should just stop doing everything because why bother? The world's falling apart, which is not really that's not my usual spirit of things. I'm usually a real optimist.
Mhm.
But during that period, I felt really like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this anymore. What's the point? But then eventually I was like, this is ridiculous. This is just how life is. No matter what is going on in the world or personally, eventually these things, they they aren't as crazy anymore. They mellow out and we just move through it. And
Yeah.
and thankfully, um, sort of recollecting myself, I was able to bring it back around and just keep going.
Yeah, and I want to, I'm going to be jotting down parallels throughout this show. I want to thank everybody who's in chat and to remind people that this will be sort of a panel show too. But I say that because when I talk to you, JJ, and whoever else might come on, um, I'm jotting down these parallels, these themes. And a big one that we share, I think, was space in a very metaphorical and literal kind of construct of space, and us needing to carve out not only space to construct and to create, but space to alleviate the hardships of the day, space to feel secure, feel a bit put together, right? A little
Yeah.
bit, which is hilarious because to me, it always comes back down to another theme for me. And we've talked about this is the contradiction, right? It's there's nothing I love more in the creative sphere than breaking down shit and maybe deconstructing stuff or throwing shit all over the place, being uh just being a general miscreant when it comes to art, but at the same time needing that kind of other end. And I think 2022 for me actually allowed me after a while, just as you, to find that gentle medium, Um, and as I talk about, I'll be playing stuff throughout the show too, just going over all the great stuff that happened this year artistically, but it goes without saying that with all of this, there is this, how do I put it? It's metamorphosis, right? There's this this transformative part of that you can see reflected in the artwork of what that time was like. And my work with Haunt Manual and these different kind of magical prisms that I'm working with, had so much to do with space. And as you had mentioned earlier, another theme is finding echoes of the past, of like kind of forgotten, wonderful valleys that you were transdimensionally wayfaring in, creative aspects. But because life got in the way, they were truncated. And so once you get your space back, you're allowed to kind of, like a ghost, move through these broken synapses in the brain and start to put things together again. And that was a huge aspect of this year as well.
Yeah, it's like haunting those spaces again. No pun intended, but it is. And
speaking of which, you can subscribe to Haunt Manual at Keats Ross.
Yeah, the space though is very important. It's mental space, physical space, giving yourself some time to just sit in quiet and sit with your thoughts and all of that, and work through things that you need to work through, and just try to really birth out something new.
Yeah.
And that's what you were talking about with the transformation. And it's really like a transformation and a transmutation of things.
Yeah, definitely a transmutation, I would say, because it really is. And, and I write about this all the time. It's that third scene, or that three scene of, finding the third mind between a past self and a want of a future self, or, kind of creating that third prism of, what was and what should be or what can be. And, to charge kind of a present. Yeah, it really is but it's also it's like allowing the echoes of the self from the past. It's not changing them. It's allowing them to kind of permeate and move through and, create something new. So I think, yeah, transmutation works better in the literal sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then because it's still a mutant, demon husk of a me that's in there. But
yeah, well, I think that's important to never forget those pieces of where things generated from, or where they began.
Yeah,
because they do give life to the new thing, the third rail, so to speak.
I like, yes, the third rail. The electrified third rail, deadly. And we have a Sam Shadow here with us.
Oh, cool. Hey, Sam.
Hey,
Sam.
how's it going, everybody?
Good. Welcome.
Glad to be here.
Somebody, let's see, Van Goo was asking what my button was, and I would love to share it with you, because this is one of the coolest. Oh, here we go. It's a middle finger inside a psychedelic vagina.
I thought it was a shark's mouth at first.
It kind of looks like that, yeah. Vagina dentata, with a middle finger. So yeah, that's what
That's fancy.
I would, yeah. I think Mary and I. It was I think my brother was playing a show. It was one of his friends' shows in LA, and there was just an artist out there that we really liked, and it was all these really kind of, just dark punk rock, like body horror kind of stuff, and but anyways, I digress. I just saw that comment. Hello everybody in the chat. Yes, I know we got real good and deep into the Ratitudes. when we started. Thank you all for joining. Yeah, Sam, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I actually just finished up an awesome podcast with Michelle about plunderphonics and
Nice.
native land, and it was a lot of fun. Many laughs were had. So
Good. It's funny. I mean, this will be a common theme throughout the show, but I know you and I were talking last night about plunderphonics and sample culture and that how that relates to hauntology, and especially like how it relates to me and my work with the, quote unquote hauntomancy stuff. And it just, what JJ was saying, it all seems to be very tethered to, I think, this kind of overarching idea of what this year was, which was really about kind of picking up the pieces, of what was or what could have been since this huge cosmic hiccup that we've had, and kind of creating some new artworks and new pathways with that stuff. So yeah, it's all tethered, man. It's all
that's totally
connected,
true.
man.
I feel like a lot of pop culture music movements and production fads and everything, like they really do kind of fall into a cyclical nature. And I
Yeah.
think and I was talking about this with Michelle, like there are certain plunderphonics albums like John Oswald Plexure that kind of like they feel like a time capsule of that decade. Like you listen to
Yeah.
it and you hear everybody from like Michael Jackson, Metallica, Prince, Madonna, whatever it might be, all in the same track. And like it's like the 90s in a nutshell, basically. And it is kind of like, I guess, its own pop culture hauntomancy because it lives
Mhm.
in the public zeitgeist. And
Well, and they
enough.
used it to create something new. And I think that's the big, as I was saying, with it is funny though, like, but here we are where now people can sample plunderphonics and create something new from the shards of the things that they created from, and the world turns, and it can keep going.
The
But
true
yeah,
self exists within the false self.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Um, but anyways, yeah. So as I said, I'm gonna be playing stuff throughout the show. One of the things came up with you, Sam, specifically. Michelle Embry's in here. Hello, Jonaside, Jilly. Hopefully those that I sent the link out can join if they want to. Um, but I did want to kind of go through a train here of how the year went. And I think the biggest one was the Honquinox. That's how we started, pretty much. For me, that's how 2022 started. Um, After some kind of devastating things, but we'll go into that later. Let's let everybody loosen up first, shall we? But the Honquinox was such an incredible coming together, a meeting of the mind, as they say, that I really, it's just such a great marker of what, I don't know how to put it. It casted the future ghost of what I hope will be moving into 2023, and what I'm planning to do more on. But we are going to do the Honquinox again, and it'll be around the spring equinox, so everyone mark your calendars. But I wanted to play a piece of it, and I thought, Sam, if you wouldn't mind, I could play your wonderful documentary that
Oh,
you included.
yeah, if you'd like to. It's a tad
Yeah.
bit long, so
Yeah, maybe you can tell me when to cut it off if you want it.
if you want, on my YouTube channel, I have it uploaded, so that could make it easy to.
Well, I'm gonna skip through a bit, actually, because we're gonna go through Honquinox and just certain parts that I have listed here. So we'll play a taste of yours, we'll play a taste of Michelle's. We'll kind of go through and show everybody, and those that might be listening, if I put this out as a podcast, like just how kind of joyous and fun this thing was that sparked this year. if you'll all let me. Is that cool?
Can I share one humorous thing
Yeah.
about my submission on the Honquinox? I I remember like right whenever I got to share it with everybody, you put it on screen share and like everybody got really quiet. And right at that moment, Stevie opened a beer. And I believe
Nice.
that's still in the video.
Awesome. Yeah. No, that's perfect. But we'll talk about Stevie in a bit too. And I just want to remind everybody that this isn't just a look back at things that have happened to me this past year. I am so lucky to have all of you as friends, collaborators. The work with We the Hollowed that we do has really been buoyant for me and has, kept me afloat through a lot of the rough and tumbles of this year. So I thought let's make it a bit of a celebration tonight of all the cool shit that we've done, including all of those including. All right.
I want to invite you on a journey somewhere between mind and spirit, to a language of colors which sometimes exists beyond the boundaries of words. A language received not by the ears but through the eyes. As we peel back the curtain of ordinary consciousness, we travel down a long forgotten road, shrouded by chaos and our oldest ancestral memories, where logic is undefined and the possibilities are endless.
Okay, I just wanted to stop it there because that's always my favorite part for some reason. I just love till it kicks in. But please watch on Sam's channel. Sam, if you don't mind putting the link to your channel in the comments. Like I said, this is going to be kind of quick. I'm just kind of floating around the stream. I do want to welcome Luxa.
Hello.
Hey, Luxa, how are you?
Doing pretty well. Pretty well. How are you doing?
Good. I actually wrote down your thing too. And we'll just jump into it. This is what Luxa had to share. Again, just a snippet, not doing it justice. Please go subscribe to these people. Sam Shadow, Luxa Strata. Here we go. Again, amazing stuff. Like I said, this is all just a little tickle, a little teaser. Please go watch the Honquinox or Luxa, you have this somewhere else, yeah? Posted somewhere?
Actually, it's from an album called Kaleidocos, which I released last month. So yeah, they can find it on my Bandcamp too.
Oh, tight. All right. Is that just Bandcamp or Luxa Strata
Yes,
Bandcamp?
that is correct.
Sweet.
Fuck
Well,
yeah.
awesome. So this is what I'm talking about. We did all of this, in the beginning of the year, and it spurned so many projects from it that I think we're all still working on, or it was like the genesis to so much that we were doing. I know one big one for me. Let's see if here it is. So Stevie and I are putting out a maxi single or a 3-song EP. It should be out next month everywhere. Stevie Searoth the Mage. And it's going to be 3 songs that we've worked on since the audio sigil, and 2 that were kind of for Honquinox. So I'm really excited about that. And this is one of the tracks on it.
A day begins, a beating heart. All the world is torn apart. Sorrow. Christ the Lord returns again. Set a banquet for the King. Joyful.
Yeah. So we are calling the project so far, it's called Dream Boys of the New Apocalypse, and that will be out. It's me doing the music, Stevie words and voice, and his luscious Scottish timbre. So that'll be exciting, and that'll be out next month. And yeah, I mean, this whole thing was just such a blast. It's insane. I'm pretty sure, and maybe, I don't know, Luxa, if you have had shows, or JJ or Sam, that have gone for 5 fucking hours. But I was,
That was some endurance streaming.
yeah. I was putty after that. You know, a lot of big thing about this past year too is me understanding that I do have a snippet, a smidge of social anxiety.
Just a touch.
Yeah,
I do too.
Me
Me as
yeah.
well.
So that was a fun way to bring in the new year. You could also see, like, you know, me getting more and more just kind of beaten down of trying to do this thing throughout the thing. But the Honquinox was really amazing, and it was such a good torch bearing, you know, lightning strike for the rest of the year, which was, you know, in the Gregorian sense, 2022. So
Totally. And I think like everybody, I think, was super impressed with the amount of stuff that you did, Keats, like in putting it all together and facilitating it. And yeah, I just really enjoyed seeing what everybody had to share. I was so impressed and super honored to be a part of it.
oh, of course. I mean, it was my favorite. Like, this was essentially what, you know, Haunt Manual, Jesus. What We the Hallowed was always supposed to be, which was just this, you know, kind of eclectic, anarchic, everyone shares their art, and it came to in this thing that, you know, I hope this next March we'll have another great feat, and knowing what I know now from the last one, and before that, where it was, what was it, the Saturday Sideshow, right, Sam? That's
yeah,
kind of
that was kind of like our
yeah,
it's kind of like our proto version of Honquinox, to kind of
Yeah.
give it a test run and work out all the bugs.
Yeah. And as you can see, they're just going to keep getting better, because if you look back at the Saturday Sideshow, I think that's on Stevie's channel, but that was fun, and it's even funnier to watch now, knowing what we know.
Very cool. Shout out to Stevie. I had a great time talking with him on his show a couple of weeks ago. It's very fun. It's nice to finally be able to sit down and chat and everything. And yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I knew it was going to be probably a little bit too late for him tonight. It is what, +7 hours from me.
Or early, gods. I mean, it's probably super early in the morning.
Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, the Haunt Manual, or geez, I keep doing that. So yeah, when you name everything Haunt, it gets really confusing. But the Honquinox really was a fantastic way to start the year, and it being on the spring equinox, I think it really set the tone for a lot of my creativity as far as what We the Hallowed is and all of that. So that was a really great time really great thing to usher in the year, and then allow all of the craziness of the year to kind of envelop, you know. Yeah, so I don't know. Luxa, you also, I know I'm trying to do this somewhat chronologically, but that's just not going to happen. But Luxa and the Green Mushroom Project just released the zine Fuck Around and Find Out, which was a really cool thing, and I meant to pull that up here, but maybe you could talk a little bit about that, because that includes folks like Sam and I.
Yeah, absolutely.
as
So
well.
we were so stoked to be able to put this together and put it out. It's called Fuck Around and Find Out: Offerings of Magical Sovereignty from the Green Mushroom Project. And it's available for free download now at greenmushroomproject.com, or we can put a link in the show notes or whatever here.
Yeah.
And we're also hoping to get a paper copy, a paper version printed, but we're still working on getting the kinks worked out with the printers and everything. We were hoping to go with like a regular zine, but we had so many fucking awesome submissions that it turned into more of like a little book. So printing has been a little bit more involved than we imagined it might have been, but definitely not complaining about that, because we had so many fucking awesome submissions. So yeah, I just want to say thanks so much to everybody who sent stuff in, and yeah, people should definitely fucking check it out, because there's some really, really cool stuff in there. And also shout out to Joy, who basically like was the one who has made it possible and really fucking kicked ass on this project. So fuck yeah, Joy, thank you.
Yeah, so yeah, Joy killed it. It really is probably about as big as a coffee table book, which I love, because it started out as a small idea, and it's almost a literal representation of how big and cool this thing got, because it is so packed, 64 pages, and it's a lot of fun to be around. And I do love just it's like a synchronous aspect too, but a parallel and a very like, tethered companionship between all of our little facets and fun, workings and communal stuff. So yeah, Green Mushroom Project lives.
Fuck yeah.
So please go check it out.
Yeah, if people are curious, check out the website. Hit me up if you want to come hang out with us on Discord. We've got all kinds of stuff going on, rituals, workshops, chats, and stuff. So yeah, all kinds of shit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna have to like go back to my notes. I was telling JJ, in preparing for this, I have just an insane list of everything that went down. But there's one funny thing that happened towards the end of the year that I thought I'd play for everybody. And it was a nice little last hurrah. And basically, without giving too much away, a song of mine was featured on an Argentinian rock station.
Fun. I love that.
Song. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, they had me record a bumper for them, like, oh, you're listening to blah, blah, blah. So I thought I would play some of it because it is cringy and funny.
Yay.
Yeah. Tell me if you can hear it. Could you hear that?
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Let me see. See, I'm getting better at this. Share system audio. There we go. How about now?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. Gonna get copyright struck. Hopefully it's the end. It's not the end. It goes on. Okay. All right, hold on. It's so hard to
Slim. Y la canción es Wildin'. Pero primero, aquí hay un mensaje de la banda.
Howdy, Argentina. This is Keats Ross of DAKOTA Slim. Thank you for transdimensionally wayfaring the jingle jangle rhythms of the haunted oral highways of the rock show.
I Fuck
love
yeah.
it. I love it.
The haunted
Yay.
oral highways of the rock show. I love it. So
I just love that.
that's so funny. I should.
And then, yeah. Sorry, I meant to stop that. But
I
yeah.
wanted to mention that the subtitle of my album that I released is Experiments in Oral Sex. So it's kind of funny when you mention the haunted oral
There you go.
highways.
I love that double entendre. That's great. Oral sex, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's very
Yeah,
fun.
but-
I'm definitely going to ask you to do an announcement for my podcast now.
Oh, it was so goofy. It's like one of those things when I was sent the snippet and I'm listening in. I was like, oh no, this is like a professional like radio station in Argentina. Like, I'm gonna have
That's so
to.
cool, though.
But that's super cool,
That's
man. Yeah,
very
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, so that was a fun little cherry on the top. But we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Sam, did you release? So Sam has been hard at work, and of like your own music, you've released a few like songs this year. I was wondering if there was anything you wanted to talk about like the process of what this year was like and music, because I think we should jump to that maybe next as a broader topic. As we are jotting down, this is my scene notation as we discuss things and try to discern the actual kind of scenic parts of what 2022 meant to us. So far, JJ and I have space and all that goes with that. But anyways, yeah, Sam, how was your creative year?
Well, I think there were some musical achievements this year. I think mostly what sang to me this year was I got really, really back into painting, which I love to paint. And that's really kind of what I loosely based my whole submission to the Honkwanox on, was my paintings and sort of my own occult interpretation of what it means to bring an image to life, or to create images that might represent something that's not totally defined or in between. I did have a few musical projects this year. I released one single on the P Sneaky comp earlier this year, and I did I was featured on a song by KFC Murder Chicks around October, and other than that, there hasn't really been too much. I posted a few cover songs just for fun on my SoundCloud, but that was more just so people would know, like, hey, I'm alive, I didn't go anywhere. So
That's really funny. I mean, that's what JJ was kind of talking about earlier, about this sort of, I think you used the word relevance, right, JJ?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're striving to stay relevant.
Yeah. And it's something I struggle with, and I think this goes back into the theme of space. And it's about, how much space we're occupying metaphorically or otherwise. And there was a lot of times this year, and this maybe goes back also to kind of a social anxiety, where I felt like if I didn't have anything like truly worth speaking about, I would just go quiet and go in hiding in a way. And it was almost like I felt that there was this not only a lack of space to no, let me rephrase that. It was more of a profundity of space, and I didn't know where to start or how to be relevant in each, if that makes sense. And I'm not sure relevance is uniquely the word, but that's the word that I fall into as well, JJ.
Oh, I lost my train of thought there. I had something to say about that, but now I don't know what it was.
Yeah, when we're
Sorry.
speaking of social media, they really are spaces, right? It's this kind of digital landscape of
Right.
ghosts kind of haunting, right? The digital ether in certain ways, and kind of pinging and flicking the foreheads of people that are finding it. Right?
I think I was
can
gonna.
definitely relate to like what each of you were saying earlier, because JJ, I heard you mention like around 2020 you hit that like really low point, and I kind of did too. Like I kind of felt a little directionless for a while, and like you said, Keats, like I don't know, I just felt like because I didn't really have much to speak of at the time, like it wasn't that I was trying to self seclude or anything, but I just felt like it was better to step back from the internet, from all that kind of stuff, and just be a little bit quiet. And now I'm trying to force myself to come out of that, because you don't want to get too comfortable and like hit that plateau of like complacency, I guess, which is
Right.
the battle I'm fighting. But
And that space that you carve out, right, to be silent starts to fill with your
This is
thoughts.
I
and
was
things.
trying to say before that you just reminded me that vastness of space can feel so monstrous, like it's
Yeah.
devouring you if you let it. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's what I was trying to get at there before.
No, that's absolutely right. And yeah, there's things. So I'm gonna jot that down because that is a reoccurring theme. Definitely, and especially in the social media landscape, I think with all that we do as well, creatively, it was really finding my space of it's okay to do something and not share it. Like, you know what I mean? It was like there was that struggle of if you're doing the collective like We the Hallowed, or if you're, you have a Patreon. Pragmagick is a perfect example of this. Was I started to feel that I was getting convoluted in the space of I needed interviews just to kind of keep the train going, and I kind of lost sight of what Pragmagick was always supposed to be, which was, even in my since 2018 when I started, and like the little bio box, it says, this is an audio grimoire. And I wasn't talking about like the magic and the creativity or the currents and stuff I was using. I was talking about things that started to just be a mess, and I wasn't really utilizing the things that I was learning. And so that was a whole reforming, is like figuring out what the space of Pragmagick, like how I wanted that, what I wanted to fill that space with. And yeah, that was a big part of 2022 for me. I don't know if anyone shares something similar, but a lot of reformatting of what these creative currents and the spaces that they create, that was a big part.
Yeah, well, there's a fine line between taking that space and just sitting and being quiet, and you don't want to just keep putting out fluff either and just go through the motions. It's definitely a difficult balance, I think.
Yeah, it's that, like, it's unintentionally, because I don't think any of us here necessarily fight to stay relevant, but I do understand the kind of the the pathways and things that are open when you are consistent with the the relevancy of creating and putting stuff out. And it's easy to get lost just in that and not have the genuine want or push to do it. And I think that's what happened to me specifically. And that's why interviews have kind of taken a major back seat for me, just because it definitely felt like I lost my way a little bit of I was trying to heat at that too much, if that makes sense. But yeah, so space, baby, still the big theme. Theme number one. All right, let's get some other themes going. It's all gonna come back down to space. It's like, all right, Spaceman 2022. All right. But yeah, so another big thing too, and this goes into the Honquinox, was I was able to create the video sigil of the audio sigil. that we put out the year prior. And that was the thing that I did for the Honquinox. But I think it's also very showing and telling of it was my first big taste in, if you give me the allowance to put images to your music, and run with it, then I'd love to do that. And I had never done that before. I'm just not really big on. I wasn't big on like the video element of like collaboration. I've never kind of created or made art to somebody else's music before that, and that was a huge thing for me, and it really opened a lot of doors within what We the Hallowed is and like what we all do with each other. And it really kind of broke open my head about finding that third mind, right, between the two people creating in two different elements of space and time, and coming together and kind of making this thing. And so yeah, the video sigil was, I think, the first big project of the year. What about you, Luxa? What was the first big project of the year for you?
Well, I think it was probably starting on the album. Maybe it was making the video for the Honquinox stream, actually. Come to think of it, even though it's not, looking back on the video, it's like, oh man, like now that I've learned more about making videos, there's things that I would definitely change about it. And I'll probably will make a new one for the song, because there's an updated version of the song as well. But
cool.
But yeah, and I love what you're saying about collaboration too, like kind of finding new avenues and stuff. And yeah, those videos that you made were super cool. And I'm tempted to ask you to make a music video for one of the songs on the album right now, if you're.
Well,
if
this
you'd be
was
into it, like
all a major ploy for you to give me that opportunity. So
oh, I thought it was a ploy on my part to come here.
Who's playing who? No, I would.
You decide, yours.
I would love that. A huge project moving into 2023 is Mary's EP, and knowing like what a baby it is to somebody else, and just being there to be like, how can I, put warm clothes on this thing? How can I help feed it? Like, it's you are the parent of this thing, but I want to help usher this into the world. And that, I think, that goes back to the video sigil, which was it. You're probably not going to use these separately as tracks that you're going to upload or videos that you're going to upload, but I really enjoyed having the ability to create a thoroughfare between all of the different submissions, and trying hard not to, stampede on people's works and stuff. So yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, I do. Let's play some.
Hey. Fuck yeah.
So this first one, Dr. Vanessa Sinclair, who we love, and this is her track.
A physical part.
Beginning
The unconscious.
small cuts,
This point
sew 'em
art
into
had,
spaces that
but
well.
essentially
In
of
this
traditional,
beginning, repetition,
the silent monitor
small
of
cut
tasks,
to
signals or
spaces
signs
that
or
beginning in
synchronicities,
this life,
not to have
repetition,
all the medical
sew 'em into
practitioners
small
and
cuts
therapists
as well.
write them off as
Spaces
if they're
unconscious,
like going down this
in
road
this life,
toward
signals
psychosis.
or signs,
And this is
small
a
cuts,
problem.
beginning
And
the
people
unloving
are making
in
money
this life,
in their
signal
lives,
repetition as well.
and
Small
rather just
beginning,
let
lovingly,
why aren't they
spaces that
dynamic dom
in
of
this
worship
life,
granted
repetition,
in return
beginning
for
small
these
cuts,
concessions,
the
the Chinese
example
insisted
for
on taking over
signal
the
light,
foreign relations of
beginning
Tibet
lovingly,
and being responsible for the defense of the country.
as well.
They would have the
Signal
right to send as many soldiers into the country as they throughout the room. From the medieval times, only one caller this week, plain Mr. Jones, going to reach when
Small
silent
signals
home
or
signs
or
is
synchronicity
the cut
not
of
to have all the
healing.
medical practitioners and
The
therapists
wide
write them
love
off as if
and
they're
about the
going down
smashing
this road
times we
towards
had in
psychosis.
London,
And this
even though
is a
the
problem.
action may be hot and heavy,
And people are making money in their lives
lovingly,
and
and
rather
post,
just let.
develop the
Why
roles of
aren't
film
they
for
dynamic,
hard
dumb,
before
worship,
my
granted?
have to
In
learn
return
what
for these
would
concessions,
be
the
bothered
Chinese
at
insisted on taking over the foreign relations of
or
Tibet
act,
and being
treated deep
responsible for
inside
the
him
defense of the
behind
country.
whatever was
They
really
would have the
him.
right to send
And it
as many
was
soldiers into
this
the
that
country
animated
as
his
they,
face
throughout the
into a
realm,
snarl
from
as he
the
suddenly
moving
grabbed
times.
and slammed
Only
her
one
up
call
against
this
the
week.
corridor wall.
Plain Mr. Jones
So,
going
then
to reach
into
one
his
solid hope.
will.
But yeah, like I said, just snippets, and the full video sigil is on the Pragmagick channel. I implore folks to check it out. But as you were saying, Luxa, you know, a big thing for me on this one too was when you're doing it for so many tracks. I think it's like 16 tracks on the audio sigil, 16 or 17. Like it gets to a point where it's not gonna be as focused as it would be for a 3-minute song or like a singular piece. And I think I found that out, which is I'd rather kind of work in sporadic spurts of each track rather than trying to do another, you know, close to 2-hour long thing or whatever.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. Another lesson learned. What do you call that theme? Overexertion. No,
I don't know. I sometimes I just think about it as being ambitious, and you know, you did the thing you set out to do, but now you know you can do it. You prefer something else.
Yeah, that's also a good point. Is there's like a fallacy about, and we've talked about this in the past, Luxa, about these self-imposed deadlines to where they can be crutches in that maybe you're cutting corners just to make these invisible deadlines, or it's not going to be as good as it can be just to reach these invisible deadlines. And I think, not that I don't like what I did, but knowing what I know now, I would have not had been so ambitious about doing it in a couple months span, and I would have just given myself more time, I think.
Yeah, I hear you. I feel like there's such a balancing act with this, right? I don't think I would get anything done ever if I didn't give myself some kind of a deadline, right? But
yeah,
at the same time, like if it becomes too strict or too ambitious or whatever, then it's no longer productive, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what about you?
I have the paradox though of if I set a deadline for myself, I'll like fixate on it too much and give myself anxiety, and then I never finish the project. So,
yes, that can sometimes happen too, honestly, for sure. Sometimes I'll tell other people, like I'll announce like this is going to be out this time, and I'll do my best to like have that be the hard deadline. Every once in a while it doesn't work out, but like it seems like if I commit to it by telling other people, it seems to help. I don't know though.
So do you think, well, because this also correlates to space, giving yourself enough space to do things, but I mean it really is time, right? And I think I was joking when I said overexertion, but you know, that's a real worry. Especially with the Ouroboros of being stressed out about creative work and reaching deadlines, and having that kind of infect the actual work, and you know, the cycle continues. And so I think that
it depends on like what kind of a person you're. Like some people do seem to work really well under pressure and stuff, and that's kind of like they feed. I'm kind of like that. Like it seems like if there's a little bit of pressure, I do better. If it's not a big deal, I might never fucking do it. So I don't know.
Right. Oh, also, this relates is other people. Other people give me an impetus that helps me trudge through it. Like, with the video sigil or Honquinox or any of these big, collaborative things in a sense, like I don't want to disappoint even more,
Mhm.
So there's, and it's never a negative. It's not like the infection I was talking about earlier. It's more of it gives me like a bigger gusto to push on and work through things, especially when it's, collaborating with people that you respect and you love, and there's great, artistic influence in what they do, and you know what I mean? So it's almost a kick in the pants rather than it's that Ouroboros I was talking about.
Well,
Yeah,
for me,
absolutely.
I meant before, I guess, that it helps me hold myself accountable
Yeah.
to see the projects through when I'm like posting a work in progress. I feel like I have to finish now because people have seen, they want to see what's going to happen next, that kind of thing. So it helps me if I share it with other people to stick to it instead of just like, get around to this later, It's that deadline thing, but in a way, the sort of echo chamber or whatever of other people looking at it.
Well, I was going to ask you specifically too, JJ, and you working kind of less ethereal mediums, like you're very hard, tactile kind of, alchemical shit. Like, how is that related when you get a job, especially as we were talking about earlier this year when things are rocky and you get a commission, how is that? Do you find it like a healthy impetus, or is it a more of a, nail biting
drudgery?
yeah, drudgery. Yeah.
There are some that are drudgeries for me when I'm just not, I really just want to do something more creative for myself. And I've got this thing that's really not something I love that I got to do. It can be very difficult, but I've learned to sort of pad my lead times with people, so to give myself that extra space that I know I'm going to probably need, because
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be late with something for
That's
a
the
client.
thing. Like, even if you don't have deadlines, I feel like some sort of time management is still like necessary, and giving yourself that space is necessary. Um, I don't know, because like I forget exactly where I was going with that. I'm sorry, and I totally interrupted you.
How dare
It's
you?
okay.
No, I think that's a
I
great
had a
point.
brain fart earlier, so don't worry about it.
But the thing about time management's a really great point. That's something that I've been working on a lot recently. I've been doing some kind of like planetary work with Saturn to try to like basically get my shit together. um,
To eat your children?
Delicious.
Yeah.
But sometimes you gotta. Sometimes
Yeah.
you must kill your baby.
That's you. Kill your
But yeah.
darlings.
It's true, but then sometimes you have to learn when to sacrifice a project in order to make something new. That's something that
Right.
happened to me this year, Keats, because
Right.
I won't talk about it too much because like it's never going to happen now, but I started on this project. I started on this concept album, and I just got way too lost in the sauce. And now I've got like 3 or 4 songs that don't really fit with anything else.
It's something
And
else. Now you got 2 records.
well, it was
way I
important
look
to
at it.
kind of make that discernment though, because I had to say, like, and maybe this goes with the time management thing, like I had to realize, like, one, I can't do everything. It's impossible as bad as I want to do everything. So I have to choose to focus my time on the projects that are most important to me. And it really just like ate at me, that was like, but I don't know. I don't consider it wasted time because I did learn something while making it. So I had the benefit of knowledge.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, yeah, I totally feel that for sure. There was a couple of songs that I didn't end up releasing. They didn't really fit with the vibe of the rest of the stuff, and like one of them was really fucked up. Like I made it when I was like really like crazy and angry, and it's like yeah, basically like I don't know if I should put this shit out here. Like it's maybe I will in the future, but like yeah, it just seemed like I don't know. So, yeah.
Well, this is a
Sometimes
good
those are the
segment
best
in-
songs, Luxa.
Yeah.
What I feel
Just
like
the
those things are part of the process, so they
Yeah.
shouldn't be discounted.
Sure.
You know,
Luxa, what if I was to tell you that you could start an anonymous project? And
I
cast
know,
it
I
out
love
into the
it.
world?
I do love that. But yeah, no, just listening to this and like kind of really reflecting on it, like and realizing like I don't know, just how much of it, was sort of like projecting and stuff too. And like
Yeah.
I don't know. So I learned a lot from like making it and the process and all of it. And I still, I didn't like throw it away or anything. I just it didn't feel like it fit with the sort of vibe of the rest of it. It was really an outlier in terms of being like angry and violent and like
Yeah.
prolific and like I don't know.
Well, and I see that too, like in the macro of meditation, magic, casting or whatever, right? Into like part of the end process doesn't have to be birthing it out into the world. Sometimes the end process really is just the reflection on it, where that came from, and letting it, swim into the shallows of, wherever you keep that stuff.
Back to
And
the
that,
void with you.
yeah. And like that was a big thing for me too. Funny in like the opposite way. Now I'm, we'll get to that later. Putting out shit that's improvised all the time, But Van Gugu, who I believe is Groucho Trout,
cool.
yeah, learned my creative goals have an internal expiration date. This is what got me though. If I don't complete the project within 365 days, I often reallocate and reprioritize my attention to other newer projects. I like
Yeah,
that. So
smart.
a Gregorian time limit.
that's a generous amount of time too.
That's a good amount of
Sure.
time. Yeah.
And when you look
yeah.
when we look at like strategies for time management and stuff, I'm a nerd. I totally have done this before. And like
Mhm.
that's one of the things that they do recommend is like if something isn't getting done, it shouldn't necessarily be on the to-do list anymore. It might not be important enough to worry about it anymore. Just forget about it. So
I think that's a good segue to another theme for this past year, and that's seeding. Actually, instead of needing the kind of like quick turnaround, combustible, blah blah blah, I learned very well, more so, not very well, like not as good as anyone else or anything, but I learned for myself very well how to seed things, how to plant and tend and water and kind of work on, small bits. So, and one of those things, with Groucho's 365-day limit, one of the things that I've been seeding for over a decade, and that's my long form fiction book, Zozobra. But it was because I found this other avenue, with Haunt Manual, which not only, I'll put it this way: when I was a kid, my grandfather told me you got to pick a lane, and I said, "But what if I want to like drive all of them? Like, what if I want to do it all?" He's like, "Yeah, but you're not gonna get great at any of it because it's gonna take too long." I said, "Yeah, I don't care. It's not really about being great at it. It's just about, you know, having fun on the expressway of every pathway." And what I found was Haunt Manual, like I found an avenue in that sense to do it, where, monthly, it's a living kind of thing where I can post literature, I post, fiction, everything that correlates, everything is tethered. I do a monthly improvised audiomancy stream, which has given me more creative original music than my long and dark nights into the fucking soul of, writing actual songs, right? Like, it's given me all of these avenues to do that. And I find that when you figure out, the certain garden of what to seed, like, that has been really beneficial to me. Really beneficial of, I don't need to just ex-nay all of these various things that I've always wanted to do, but obviously, yeah, having the prioritization to realize, wow, because I'm working on this, this multimedia grimoire thing, it has inspired me to write more in Zozobra, which is the fiction, which has inspired this, which has inspired that. And I think that was the big thing, was like, maybe it's not seeding, it's finding, the water bucket, like, with the right amount of drippage.
I think that's the lesson I want to carry with me into next year, though, Keats. If I could take something creatively with me into 2023, which I feel it in my bones. Like, I don't know what it's going to be, and that's the scariest part, but I have a feeling 2023 is going to be a very musical and artistic year for everybody. And, going back to what you said about the Honquinox earlier and editing the audio sigil, um, which I know for a fact had to be painstakingly hard. It made me think of my own submission with all the stop frame animation and stuff I did in it, and all the jump cuts, and I probably spent 3 or 4 entire days putting that thing together, and I think which I love it, and I learned a lot of stuff by submitting that. Like, I don't regret that at all. But I think what I'm learning, and also with music, is that, right now I'm trying to complete this album. And I think, like, once I complete an album, instead of focusing on a 16-minute video with a bunch of stop frame, or instead of focusing on a concept or an idea of 10 songs, I think it would be better to do singles, or 1 or 2 songs, or do like a 3-minute video or a 4-minute video with stop frame. And I think it'll be in this type of pacing, like, that I find my groove and I allow myself to create things without overwhelming myself and, like, not getting anything done. And as far as, like, doing different things in different lanes, like, I personally do believe you can do it all. Like, I'm hard-headed like that too. Like, and you never really know when
Like
it's
I said,
going to
too,
hit you.
like Tom Bien as well, also, meaning I'm hard-headed or hard-headed. I get you.
If you would have went to 2021 and said, hey, in 2022 you're going to do like 10 paintings this year, like, I would have never premeditated that. I don't even know what inspired me to do that. I think I was just in town one day and I went to Michael's and dropped like $50, and that was like the domino effect that sent me down that path.
Yeah, I'm with you. You actually kind of re-inspired me to, get back in drawing and sketching, because your paintings this year are fucking incredible. And I'm really sad about the one that was lost, that was on your way to Michelle's. That was hard, but at the same time I was like, yeah, but what a great lesson in there that I don't want to even deal with.
The lesson is never ship with a company that doesn't have insured packaging.
Yeah. Well, and Eric Millar said hi. Who?
Hey, Eric.
Greetings.
Can't say enough about. Just cannot say enough about. Big love to Eric. What Eric was showing, I'll show this. A big thing with
talk about some inspiring artwork.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so a big thing with Eric, and he helped me kind of redesign the We the Hallowed site. So that was a big thing, because we had kept the We the Hallowed, me slaving over coding and doing all the stupid WordPress stuff. We had kept that for a really long time. And this year, I think because of how copacetic it was about, especially about visual art and, just Eric being a fucking maestro with like, probably two of the best works I think he's ever put out this year with the No Gods But My Own stuff, and especially the assemblage of disparate parts. It was time for a change. Like, this shit got real. And like, now this site is, oh, I don't know why it stalled, but yeah. So we changed it all. And of course, like, it starts with this, that was a really big thing, I think, was, what you were saying, Sam, about, I didn't ascertain that the visual element or like a kind of design aesthetic would be such a like big part of me. I just didn't understand that just wasn't in the cards for what I was casting, but it was like drawing art, painting, breaking out my grandmother's paints. Like, it barked for some reason. And I think a lot of it had to do with you and Eric and all the folks that we hang with. Here's Eric's awesome flight interpretations. This beautiful little
Otto,
Fuck yeah.
Beelzebub,
And I should say too that Eric J. Millar has some stuff in the Fuck Around and Find Out zine, so definitely check that.
He certainly does.
Too. So yeah, fuck yeah.
He fucked around and found out.
He fucked around, but did he find out? Only he knows.
Yeah.
Let us know, Eric.
If you fuck around at home, you're gonna find out too.
So another theme I keep coming back down to is this kind of cross-pollination between artists and all of us in our different avenues or things that we do. Some of them shared, some of them not, have been incredibly inspirational this year. It was, always my intention to discuss like all of that, for an end of the year stream, like how much amazing, crazy shit we've all been a part of. And Sam, like, your paintings were fucking next level. I hope, can you send me a link to put on the, send me a link in private to put on the screen, especially,
for sure.
Yeah.
Give me
Yeah,
one
I'll let you choose. Yeah. But, just
They
incredible
really are cool.
shit.
Yeah, just really, really cool. Like, just so much, like, there's so much motion and sort of like life in them, I guess. Like, there's a lot of like, some art, when you look at it, like, it has a sort of like, the character of it like jumps out at you. And yeah, these are definitely like that. They're definitely very alive feeling to me, at least when I look at them.
Oh, and I do want to give a special shout out, because another big thing about this year was my good buddy Logan Ford and the land that was acquired in New Mexico. I think I did a public stream about it. People know on Patreon, and of course all of you know of that stuff working. But he's the one that that animated this stuff.
Oh,
and
fuck yeah.
Very cool.
the bullhead and all of that. So that's Mr. Logan Ford, who's down there in New Mexico right now, talking about seeding that land, tending to working on that stuff. So yeah, that was a magnanimous year for that, for sure. Oh, here we go. Got a deviant art. All right. Yes. Okay, so this one in particular is my favorite, but I'm biased. So this
I'm
is
highly excited to see which one it is.
You're gonna judge me.
I'll judge the fuck out of you, Keats.
We're judging you anyway, Keats. No.
Just silently.
I love the
I've
crystal
carved out a
gun.
space for you to judge me.
Oh yeah, that's
Ooh,
great.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
R.I.P. 3 Dogs.
3 Dogs.
This is
I
the
know.
one that I sent to Michelle for Callie's birthday, and stupid UPS lost it.
Oh.
But let's talk about that. Here's another theme, especially when it comes to artwork, whether it's what JJ does with her metalsmithing, or any of us do in any kind of medium. Sam, you had figured out a way to get that textile that's within the dog figures on the painting with cellophane, right? That was something new this year. that you just kind of discovered?
I did. What I usually do is I'll take a canvas and I'll put like maybe 5 or 6 different colors all over it. And I tried all kinds of different things. Like I've tried sponges, Brillo pads. I think the one that really stuck with me was the cellophane for whatever reason. I would just like crinkle it into a wad and stamp it all over the page so it gave this really smooth, almost tie-dye kind of texture. And then I would usually take one really solid opaque color. In this case, it was green. And that's what I would use. So instead of like painting to fill in a shape, like instead of painting an apple where I'm using like the color red to paint in the shape of an apple, I'm using the background color and painting around the apple, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Not at all, but I love it.
No, just like painting with the negative space or whatever.
Yeah,
like-
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
you nailed it. Just basically finding that really good solid opaque color to make the negative space after I've prepped my canvas. And
Yeah,
I love
it's
this
fucking
one.
beautiful. And so this reminds me too, I think here's the third theme. If we have space, maybe time, it's new ways of doing things. Give me a shorthand word for that. We'll call it new tools or new tactics.
I want to
new,
say innovation, but that sounds so gross
innovation.
and corporate-y.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
innovation, synergy.
It's good though. It's appropriate.
Ghost effects. But like no, straight up. This year had shown me personally a lot of different ways, different avenues, different tools of kind of painting my own canvases. What about you, JJ? What has kind of opened your world?
Well, I wanted to say, I think it is important as creative people, as artists of any kind, that it's good to use different mediums like this whenever you can. You shouldn't limit yourself at all. Just try all sorts of things. Because for me, I mean, people don't really know it now because I'm really focused on the metal work. But I had done quite a huge body of work with collage, paper collage in different mediums, and painting and photography and sculpture, printmaking, all kinds of things. And those, even if you don't feel successful in using those mediums, and maybe you give up on something, I think dipping into that well, it does enhance the strong points that you have in other things. So if you're a painter and you branch out into, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of just anything like sculpture or whatever, into 3-dimensional. There's something to be said about those other mediums that may help you convey what you're trying to say. You might, like for me, I always felt very frustrated that I couldn't just straight out paint something with paint on a canvas and be satisfied with the end result. So I would just kind of try all different things to convey an idea I had in my head. And sometimes I felt like there wasn't even, like sometimes I thought I might need to use music or video or something to get it out. So I think it's good to try out these different things. And for me this year, this new year, I want to tap back into some of these other projects that I had put on the shelf for a while, as far as drawing and painting and doing collage work again in mixed media. I felt during the time that I was not able really to create, I thought, oh gosh, I really need to revisit these things because they do sort of produce different work for me in the metalsmithing and
I
other
totally
things.
get what you mean. And I've never done jewelry making, but I actually I've done several metal repousses or bas reliefs, and it's something I've maybe only done 4 times in my life, but I don't know where it comes from. I just have a natural knack for it, and every time I did one, they came out really, really good, and it's something that if I had the copper, if I had the materials, I would continue working with it, just because I find it so fascinating. But I
Yeah,
agree with you
I would love
though.
to see that with your work. You
and
could
these
probably
are.
do a lot.
I just wanted to say these are gorgeous pieces, JJ. Very, very
Oh,
cool
thank you,
stuff. I love
Luxa.
it.
Thank you very much.
I love
Yeah,
the
no,
Hades
I mean,
ring.
Yeah, I
yeah,
love the way that the stone itself is like showcased. I'm a huge like mineralogy nerd and shit, and so yeah, these are fucking really cool.
Thank you.
yeah, absolute genius. Yeah, and
Dionysus. You can
I
tell
know
that's
for
a piece of amethyst, right?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
birth
That's
me and Lux's birthstone. There you go.
Yeah,
Boom.
Dionysus Talesman. That's perfect. I love it. Cheers, Keats.
Thank you.
But yeah, I think for me too, a big aspect was not only finding, new avenues to help kind of broaden or find that bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, whimsy of I'm excited about what I'm creating, but was kind of deconstructing old ways and remembering, I write about this in the latest haunt manual, was this aspect of myself that I've held since I was a little kid, tinkering away at 4-track cassettes and circuit bent instruments, while everyone was
Yes.
asleep, like alone in my room in this, laboratory as a mad scientist, blowing things up and fucking everything up, but like just absolutely enjoying it, and my last magical working was about like invoking that aspect, or at least like projecting it around me, and that may have to do a lot with space as well, but it
Yeah.
really has been about kind of re-energizing the exciting experimentation aspects of creativity, and I think that has been a big thing for me this year. um Not only
Yeah.
the experimentation, but like the improvisation, and also getting over the fucking, those gnawing little gnats of social anxiety and saying, I picked these random instruments and I'm going to hit live on a live stream and do a magical audiomancy working, and it's going to be improvised, and that's what it's going to be. Now, don't get me wrong. I have like or I have not privated, but I have unlisted some of them, but that was mainly due to like sound quality or something, because it really was an experiment in figuring it out. But that opened up a whole new thing for me. That was like such a refreshing get out of my head. I'm not writing these really, you know, whatever the Dakota Slim albums are. Like, it wasn't that. This was of a combustible source that, sprung out of me at that moment, that if I can tidy up a little bit and maybe EQ a little, like, that's a whole new musical project. And so that's what's coming out on the 1st of 2023 is an album of that. And it was all from kind of the improvised audiomancy stuff that I've been doing with Haunt Manual. Excuse me.
Okay, that sounds very cool.
That's
Hell yeah.
fantastic. I
Yeah, I
think
was gonna say.
that's what I'm talking about is experimenting and getting those juices flowing. And even if it doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere, you put all those pieces together and you have something. You have something new.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say too, I really liked what he brought up about, I think we've spoken about this before, and I think he might have contextualized it as being nostalgiamancy, like this idea
Right.
of getting back to this part of yourself, this kind of childlike part that is just curious and wanting to explore this medium and not really worrying about the outcome and just playing, and I think there's a lot of power in that, and that's something that I've been trying to work on, and I think I'm going to try to make that one of my creative focuses in the next year, is trying to cultivate that more.
Yeah, and I think nostalgiamancy works with that because it's more of a sentiment instead of a time travel escapade, right? I write
Okay.
in Haunt Manual, like the first working was about invoking a certain time in my life, like a prism of self. And it was like probably the most insane like aspect of this past year, where after this working, it took me literally back to the quadrants of where I was, and the year was 2017 that I was working with. But I'd used the, talisman, the instruments, and these artifacts, and did this whole audiomancy ritual. And next I know, like out of nowhere, I'm back in the house where like Mary and I met, and I'm staying there, like where we met in 2017. I'm staying there this year, and I'm, you know, working with the organization and all the people that I hadn't worked with since 2017. And it just thrusted me back. And this this it's funny, if you read Haunt Manual, you can tell where I'm like, okay, that was cool, not going to do that again. Let's now work with an aspect of self. It's like, let's work with an aspect of self, and not a like almost like a literal prism of self, or where I was, because with that comes a lot of the bad that was there too, and all of that. But I
That
think,
totally makes sense. Yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah, and I think like the nostalgiamancy in that aspect makes sense for what this is kind of, yeah, like a sentimentality of like an aspect or a whispering memory. It's not like an actual, you know, the year was 2017. You know. But yeah, that's been a big thing, and that's where I am now, and that's really about almost charging the present, though. In this sense, was to, I like where I am. I like the way things had turned out this year. Um, it was very raucous, you know. I almost relocated to Portland, but I was down there for a full month and working in the wilderness, dealing with that working that I had done, and somehow, you know, got a way to get out of there and to come back home, and to understand that I do believe this is home, and to go back to space, like to be back amongst, the dimming room or my space where I do these things. And I was like, I want to keep that. I want to charge things that help facilitate and stabilize that, while also getting me back into like the fun of experimentation. And so that's like the present working, right? The next one, which we'll talk about later, because I ended the year with, this amazing communion with Bobby Hale of Temple of Babylon Kronzon, and realized, holy shit, you can channel kind of like this future ghost of self and commune, and like, you know, this big like prospect of self kind of working. But for now, I'm good. I'd like to stay here a little bit, But yeah. But enough about me. No. But anyways, speaking and kind of piggybacking, I thought I'd play this. So I did edit down. Patreon members have it. They have it in one full album, but the last working that I did, the audiomancy working, which invoked the aspectra, or the aspect of self that I was talking about, the present. The tools. Every dim session, every audiomancy session uses tools or artifacts that are intentful to the working. And this one, I couldn't use what I had used in the 2017 one, and to get me back into me toiling away at cassettes and circuit bent stuff when I was a kid, and to keep that aspect, like I worked with a Casio this time, and a cassette player, and cassette recorded things. And after doing this, I realized, if I trimmed it down, if I edited a bit, maybe rearranged things and made it look almost, or like sound almost, as an unrealized film score. That's what I've been calling it. It's like an unrealized film score, because like I'll have the main title theme and then it'll come up later. But just a little bit of cleaning, not very much editing at all. That I realized that I had opened up the synapse, like what JJ was saying about, old truncated ideas that were kind of left to the side. And I fucking realized, like, holy shit, this is what I wanted to do for years, as this project. And this is the main title theme from it. And this will be out everywhere on New Year's Day. And I'm still working with the Gematria and with, Groucho Trout and Bobby Hale on me choosing a certain name for it. But so far it's been Ectogasm, because that's the name that I've actually kept and have been using since 2014. Just never did anything with. And so here it is. This is the main title themes. And so, like, this was the live stream audiomancy ritual stuff. You can see I'm wearing a ghost head that Eric Millar helped me realize, which is also the background of this stream right here that we're watching. But yeah, that's taken from the live Haunt Manual audiomancy stream that is now that now womps after some EQing.
I really liked that, Keats. I thought that
was
went
great.
pretty hard.
That was awesome.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I would have never have done that if it wasn't for the workings that I've been doing within Haunt Manual and Hauntomancy. Like, I would never have pressed live and said, "Here, all you have is a keyboard, some effects, and this cassette machine with some old tattered things that I recorded in the past." Like, it wasn't, as you were saying, Sam, like, that painting wasn't in my mind for this year. But here we are, and now that's a venture that I had forgotten about that's going to be something in 2023. So yeah,
I would love to see Dakota Slim surprise everybody with like an IDM industrial album.
Major Wampage. Yeah. Hi, Mary. Everyone say hi to Mary.
Hey, Mary. Hello.
Hey, Mary.
Wampage.
So I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. I got to dip out pretty soon here because it's getting super late and I'm super
I know
tired.
it's so late for all of you. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, and Happy New Year's to y'all and to everybody
New Year.
watching everything. Fuck yeah. Haunt on. So
Haunt on. You're the Coy-Ote.
fuck yeah. All right. Well, take
right.
care, everybody.
Good night,
Thank
Luxa.
you again so much for letting me do the green mushroom zine, Lux. That was like really one of the highlights of my year, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for contributing. Yeah, I really appreciate it. And yeah, super stoked to have your dope stuff in there. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
Big
Have a
love,
great
Luxa.
night.
Yeah, much
Here's
love.
some more collaboration. Much love.
Much
Haunt
love.
on.
Fuck yeah, haunt on. All right. Later,
Haunt on.
everybody.
But yeah. But yeah, I think that's the other theme of this year was, finding these different avenues to help charge and kind of scare yourself too, right? I mean, pressing like I'm not being able to use ectogasm, which is my guitar that I'm comfortable with, which I've used in other audiomancy sessions, just as like a totem. Like I just wouldn't have never have done that. It didn't occur to me. It's like, yeah, you have acute social anxiety. Why don't you press live and fumble around on a Casio keyboard? That sounds like great, So here we are, 2023. Keats fumbles around with the Casio keyboard, the movie.
You fumble around with it enough, you might get an album out of it. I'm just saying.
I mean, I do. It's from that. I gave it to Patreon patrons can listen to it. It's about 45 minutes long. It's edited. It's EQ'd. It sounds a lot nicer and brighter, cleaned up. But that's the first Ectogasm record that will be out New Year's 2023. So yeah, that's how I'm starting the New Year's.
That is fucking awesome. And that's a hell of a way to ride into 2023, I think.
It's just the pastiche of having the unknown qualities of it, right? Which made so much sense in 2022, which was now that we have the space, now that we can kind of afford the time, now that, we can carve out these parts of ourselves and figure out these aspects that we want to keep moving forward. Yeah, it just makes sense. But I think that kind of works for both you and JJ, Sam. Like, I think that's maybe just a kind of general want or a general need, I should say, not a want. Let's be specific.
Want and need.
Yeah.
Did you say that was the opening?
Yeah, in the actual session, that's about 38 minutes in, but I made it so that's the main titles of the fake film score. And
Okay.
I gave them like scene names. And that's another thing. It helped me work with kind of cut ups. And I constructed this false film score around like what the soundtrack names are. Like, Daro, you're bleeding, or it's like titles of songs. But if you read it, you'd be like, I can kind of see a film just in the titles of how it's sequenced. So I put that as what a lot of film scores do and a lot of soundtracks. They'll put the main titles, even though it's out of sequence, as the first track, and then it'll come back later.
That's great.
So,
I love it. It's I put in the chat. It sounds like a heartbeat to me in the beginning, and it sort of gave me this visual in my head of something coming to life, and then growing and growing as it went along.
Yeah, I love that. That makes perfect sense.
I was just silently waiting for maybe like a light ambient synth to come in on top of it, or for like a distorted vocal.
No, it's perfect as it is.
Megaphone.
The megaphone, I like that. Yeah.
Stigmata.
But yeah, I think overall, as Raka says, this past year was, I think finding the outlet to Haunt Manual and being able to work on and seed all of these things monthly, while 2023 is going to finally, I'm going to rip off that Band-Aid, and 2023 is going to have my first book published. and that's going to be, I thought it was going to be Zozobra, but I'm going to need more time on that. I'm always going to need more time on that. But it's going to be Haunt Manual. And so after the next ritual work, which kind of closes out this volume, you know, I'll then hopefully go back with Michelle Embry. You know, we'll do like a print edit for the book, and I'll add stuff, take away things, kind of rearrange stuff. So it gets to live and breathe as, you know, the Substack posts of the chapters, but not, you know, also it's the audiomancy rituals and, you know, doing what Pragmagick is on Spotify, because I still don't understand why Spotify took away 65 episodes of this show, but in a way it kind of helped because now it's pretty much just Haunt Manual stuff on Spotify. But yeah, it's given me like this ability to seed and do all the things within a vernacular. Now the crutch is, if you don't like what it says on the Substack, then you're going to hate the audio podcast play and you're going to really hate the book, you know? So it's one of those things.
Well, it's very exciting. Congratulations.
But yeah, this is where you can find the posts aside
my
from
expectations were so high.
Yeah. Oh, shut up. I know that was sarcastic. They were so low, you know it. No, but yeah, aside from the like haunt letter thing, which is just an aggregate thing, but yeah, these are all chapters of the book that will be out after the next couple, and some editing. And again, I'm saying Michelle Embry helped me edit as like a kind of bullying tactic, that I said it on the internet. Now everyone thinks you're going to help me edit it, so you got to help me now. Of course I'll pay her, but now you got to help
be
me.
in print.
Even though you hate it, Michelle, it's the worst thing you ever read. I'm sorry. You got to help me do it. But
she's been DMing me all week long about how much she disliked it. I'm sorry. I didn't want to tell you this on stream.
So close. But yeah, so, you know, I don't believe in resolutions or anything. That's why it was so important to talk about what's going to continue and like what we're going to do next year, you know, or what will be, what we can tentatively say, like, no, that's going to happen. It's, you know, I'm already working towards that. It's not some far-fetched thing, because I could sit here all day and say, hey, I'd like to, you know, stop drinking white wine, even though I've cut out liquor. I've had a full year without liquor, so there's that harm reduction, baby. But or, you know, cut down on cigarettes. Yeah, of course, I'm always gonna want to cut down on cigarettes. I mean, that's just the thing until you quit smoking, right? So we can spend all night. We can spend until next year talking about all the things that we hope or wish to have happen. But what are some of the things that you're going to do, because you know that you're seeding it now, you're working on it, it's inevitable? What are those like tangible things, JJ?
Oh, the tangible things. Well, gosh, I'm not even sure I can put it into words. I mean, like I said before, I definitely plan to revisit some of the other visual arts. And I actually, speaking of seeding, I did sort of dabble around with some copper mesh in the summertime that I wanted to, that's one of the things I kind of started it and put on the sideline, but I plan to continue to make sort of more, it's going to be a cross between apparel and jewelry.
Ooh.
Sort of more
nice.
Wearable metal stuff.
You have my curiosity.
Well, these are things that there are a lot of these projects that I wanted to get on, you know, 3 or 4 years ago that I just couldn't. Life was really throwing at me for a long time. And now I've got some I feel like I have some comfortable time to play around with those things again. So that's definitely something I'm going to work on this next year and try to incorporate different mixed mediums to
I
deal
mean, not
with.
try, you're gonna.
Well, I'm
right?
gonna, yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens, but
Yeah.
it's
Well,
definitely
what
my
about
intent to be doing that because I started it already.
okay? What about outside of just like a, I mean, life is creative, life is art, but outside of just that vernacular of that sort of like literal creativity, what about you in Chicago? Like, what are your plans for kind of blending your new life, having your first full new year in Chicago? What's that going to look like?
Wow, well, that's a great question. I think I need to get out and explore more. I've just been still sitting in this apartment for the entire, I got here around the middle of September and I barely get out. So when it's warmer, I want to get out and explore and kind of meet some people and check out the art scene here and get more involved in community stuff with the creative arts.
A lot of what brought you out there was a wonderful art scene, especially for what your metallurgy and all that. Am I correct?
I wouldn't
it's
say
not,
that
then even better.
necessarily.
Well,
I
that's
mean, it's
awesome.
good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
knew that was a part of it, and I really, for me, the live work situation was the most important thing. But it doesn't hurt that those things are here and thriving.
Mhm.
So I'm going to spend some time getting to know the area better and doing a little bit of. I hate use the word outreach or whatever, but just check out what's happening in the art scene because I really have very little clue, and I'm sure there's a lot of wonderful stuff. So that's what I'll be doing.
I mean, yeah, Chicago's a mecca for a lot of fantastic things, and yeah, I'm excited that that's not a major reason of why you went out there. Because to me, I'm like, oh wow, that's gonna open a whole slew of folks that are going to be interested in what you do, and so to me that sounds exciting as hell.
It is for me. Because I have such a connection to the East Coast and New York in particular, so it'll be a whole new scene for me here that I know a lot of people. So like pretty much everyone I know has been through Chicago or lived here or has spent a good chunk of time here, and for me it's brand new. So
I know
there's a lot to.
Earlier this year they had the very first Austin Osman Spare exhibit in America ever in Chicago. It was called Psychopathia Sexualis. But Chicago does have. I've never been to Chicago. I would love to visit one day. But it does have like a really awesome art scene and even a bit of an occult influence behind it.
Definitely.
Oh, and I mean, JJ's already in there.
Yo lives, and sometimes they'll do lectures or have specific galleries and things like the Spare exhibit come, and I think that's pretty cool.
There's a lot of culture here.
Where's Zolo Jesus located?
Oh, I think
is that English?
I think Wisconsin or
Wisconsin.
I don't really know. I think she's got a couple different homes, but I think
cool.
I'm pretty sure she's from Wisconsin, and I know that she lived in Arizona too.
As we all do.
I'm not sure.
In our darkest days, JJ. As we all do. I'm just kidding.
Well, I have my parents in Arizona.
Some people's darkest, some people's lightest.
Right.
And never the twain shall meet. No, I love that. I only asked about the Zola thing because, Sam brought up the kind of occultnic side of it, and I'm like, JJ's already there.
Well, no, I know that there's a lot of like deep-seated occult stuff going on here in Chicago. So
But also
I'm fully aware of that coming into it.
The
What's
occult. I'm just kidding. No, that's been a big thing for me. I think it's
I'm gonna
just so
have to
broad,
run
and
that
ridiculous.
hard
It's hilarious to have any
effort you
absolutist
can also-
idea about it at all. Anyway, you know. But yeah, that's been a fun year finding out.
Oh
stuff
yes,
within that.
yep.
It's just a shit show.
It's
but
fuck
it's
around to
hilarious.
find out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay.
Also,
She said the line.
she did. She said the line.
Yay!
The word.
Ding 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 ding.
Well, what about you, Sam? What are things you're going to do?
I
I know
have
it's kind of ridiculous.
simplistic, realistic goals, and I think my biggest battle will just not be getting distracted. And my simplistic, direct goals are going to be finish this album, make something for the Honquinox, and write some stuff for We the Hallowed, and that's it. For 365 days, those are my only 3 major goals. And I think like I even though it's not something of a creative output, like I think I am going to like continue obviously doing more magical type things, and that's going to lead me down unforeseen rabbit holes because I never like to mark that destination, whatever it might be, before it gets here.
Yeah.
But
No, I love that, and I know how pompous it is to be like, "No, what are you going to do?" It's like no one never knows. You know, we're lucky to share an atmosphere of oxygen. You know, anytime we wake up. So, but I just mean there's a kind of sensibility in that. It's kind of an anti-resolution. I think resolutions are made to be broken, and maybe that's just like punk rock heart about it. Just like you don't need a fucking calendar or calculator to tell you, you know, or especially one that's shared by everything else to tell you when to stop stuff. But on your own time, you know, what are you going into in January? No one ever talks about January. You know, no one's ever like, you know, what does January look like for you? January's got to wear the whole year on its shoulders. Like it's, you know, it's just a bunch of lost resolutions and terrible suffering, and you know, it's just it's a sad state of affairs. So I'm just looking out for January. That's what I'm doing. But anyways, but
January is as far as I'm willing to foreshadow into comfortably at this point.
Yeah, let's charge January.
January.
I did want to say, as we, you know, kind of moving towards the end of our wonderful cast, and I do thank you, Sam and Luxa, and of course JJ, and all the people in the chat. Thank you for joining tonight. This has been absolutely lovely. Hopefully, I didn't, you know, overshare my shit. It has always been about, you know, kind of sharing all of your wonderful things this year. So I did want to, though, talk about an in memoriam sort of segment. And at first I thought I would keep this in front of house, you know, in the beginning of the podcast, but nah, you can't front load things like this. But we won't end somber because this is a celebration. So the year started, of course, you know, with our friend Jiggy passing. That was in I think it was in January, actually. Damn, January, you're fucking up. But yeah, so you know, words cannot express how much fun and just kind of brilliant goof juice that Jiggy allowed us, but he always had such a discerning aspect to him. And I will say this, only Jiggy could do it. None of that shit exists now. A lot of people fell into their own tundras. We all went back to our own kind of avenues of flair and everything. But Jiggy was the only one to bring like truly disparate people kind of together under, his very watchful eye. So that's how the year started. And, that was rough as shit. And yeah, just here's to you, Jiggy. Big ups, big love. Other than, of course, Jiggy, what came into my mind in memoriam this year were so many other folks. I feel all of us now in whatever generation that we find ourselves in, we are connected to this generation that is slowly starting to pass on. Like it's slowly starting to just kind of leave. People like Terry Hall, who was a singer for the Specials, but most notably my favorite, Funboy 3, who passed away quite recently. Mark Lanigan, big one. Mark Lanigan was out of nowhere. I wouldn't even consider it in that generation, but you know what I mean? It just seems like a lot of the people that we grew up being inspired by and shining on with, are starting to haunt on. And I was wondering if either of you could talk about any others, if any of them come to mind, whether it's
Badalamenti.
Angelo Badalamenti was a big one that's on my list. Yeah. Obviously from the comic book end, like Tim Sale, Kevin Conroy, the voice of Batman. But yes, Angelo Badalamenti. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's definitely the one that hit the hardest. And it does, like, it is like a realization for me that, I sit there and I realize, like, fuck, all of my heroes are, like, in their late 40s to mid 50s now. And that's okay, but, like, damn, like, I don't know. I digress. The passing of Angelo Badalamenti was very hard for me because he was a huge inspiration. And even though it didn't take place this year, like two of the things I'm really proud of are I got to be on the two different Twin Peaks compilations on No Problema tapes. And
look at Cooper.
Yeah. Oh, Cooper, Cyborg Cooper.
Yeah.
Or Zombie Cooper.
So these are actually from when we went to the R&R, Sonomish, and all of that. This one's going on Ectogasm, the guitar.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. But
Black Lodge symbol.
Yeah.
But God, he was just, as a producer, as, somebody who writes songs, he was just very, very influential. I don't think I would really have the love for soundtracks that I do if I didn't listen to Angelo Badalamenti when I was probably like 22, 23.
What got me, I always loved his stuff, but it was the Mulholland Drive score / it's got also David Lynch's music, which is highly underrated, his personal music, and he's worked with Angelo. And I fucking love those albums, but there are that and the Twin Peaks score shared two sides, like two polarities of kind of nostalgic and beautiful, almost like darkly whimsical and just like treacherous and gnawing, but also beautiful. Like he was so good at that. But yeah, he was a huge inspiration to me too. I mean, and after working with Bobby Hale, LHP, LPA, Listening Post Alpha, and his
Left Hand Path.
Yeah, Left
Hand Path. It wouldn't be opposed to being called
right.
the LHP, but
I it's funny how Twin Peaks and like all of that, and right when I was, really getting into the Temple of Babylon Quran's on, Angelo Badalamenti dies, and you know who told me? Was CW Chanter. He texted me.
That's who told me too.
Yeah, he
That's the
texted
same
me and
person who
said,
told me too.
yeah, he texted me and he said, I'm sorry, which is hilarious because CW famously does not like David Lynch films, or he famously doesn't like Twin Peaks, right? I think that's
right.
more specific. But I thought it was really adorable that he knew how much I liked Angelo Badalamenti. He knew how much I enjoyed that stuff, that he found out from, whoever, and texted me about it. And when I looked on the internet, you couldn't find anything. But what I did find was it was an Italian newspaper that posted the obituary. That was the only thing you can find. And they posted it in the We the Hollow Discord. It's like, I don't read Italian, but pretty sure this is not good news. So yeah, that you could feel that one across the board. Mark Lanigan too, but that was a rough one.
Mark Lanigan of the Screaming Trees. Yeah, he was really one of the last.
Mark Lanigan, Sam.
One of the last, grunge musicians really out there, to be honest.
Yeah, one of the last of the first, maybe. Yeah.
Well,
how about Godard?
Oh yeah.
There's so many. Oh my gosh. Loretta Lynn and
Sidney Poitier,
McVie.
Peter
creator of
Bogdanovich?
the Sex Pistols, Vivienne Westwood passed
today.
That was shade. I like that.
It's just a fact, okay?
That's shade. I like that. The leader of the Sex Pistols, Vivienne Westwood.
Vivienne
It's
Westwood.
not Malcolm McLaurin, because it definitely ain't Johnny Rotten. Tell you what. But that was funny. I like that one.
She was awesome, though. I unironically do really like Vivienne Westwood, and I even like the MTV Vivienne Westwood runways that had like the Prodigy and Filter and shit.
What was
that
her store on King Circle? It was called Sex, wasn't it?
It was called Sex.
Yeah.
And the whole reason they made these bands like Adamant or Sex Pistols or anything like that was it wasn't that the bands were promoting the clothes, or it wasn't that the clothes were promoting the bands. The bands were made to promote the clothes. So they were almost like an advertising thing.
I mean, that's where the joke. I mean, that it has not been unsaid that the Sex Pistols were a boy band, essentially, right?
Oh God, finding that out was like finding out Santa Claus wasn't real.
I know, but John Lydon has went out of his way to remind us that I'm not so sure that's the case. But Hubert Deutsch, the co-creator of the Moog synthesizer, passed away this year.
Oh no!
But yeah, in comics, and I know I'm forgetting some others because it was kind of a 1-2 punch. But Tim Sale, who I had kind of an aching want to always work with, his art was always kind of my favorite. He did The Long Halloween from Batman. Just a brilliant, like, dark, whimsical artist. Let me see if I can bring up something. But he passed away, and there wasn't a lot of like fanfare, and I was like, "What the fuck? This guy was the best." There was a lot of things in those mediums. Kevin Conroy, though, for sure, was a big hit because I think people of our spectrum, grew up with Kevin Conroy as the voice of our Batman so much that we would read comics in his voice.
Like that was between Batman the animated series and the 1989 Jack Nicholson Batman, like that in my brain, like up to the point when I was about 10 years old, is like how I envisioned Batman. Like that's my concept of him
Yeah.
as a child. Kevin Conroy's voice in the animated series. And it was surprisingly, I think like Batman the animated series and X-Men the animated series from the 90s
yeah.
are probably the two that hold up the best.
That was the freaking
Story-wise.
X-Men the animated series was the soap opera to end all soap operas. I was watching it as an adult going, I was clinging to my Legos watching this shit, and this is straight up like Days of Our Lives with superpowers. It's hilarious. It is so funny. But yeah, here's Tim Sale. I always said Sally because I don't know why, because no one ever said it to me. You know, it's I always bring this up about Camus. When I was a kid I was in a debate club and existentialism came up, and I was talking about Camus, but I called him Camus because no one ever said his name to me. That's just how I read it, was Camus, and I got so shamed. It's Camus. Like, fuck you. Somebody told you how to pronounce it. I'm just figuring this shit out. But
I'm guilty of it too. I'm still guilty of it.
Yeah. But anyways, this is him Sale. I can't talk enough about just how brilliant he was, and like really crooked, beautiful.
Oh, hey, it's Solomon Grundy.
Born on a Monday.
Died on a Tuesday, got buried on Wednesday. Or no, wait.
But yeah. His scarecrow, though, was like always my favorite.
Oh, that's
Just
a really
very-
cool scarecrow.
It's a very like surrealist. Like all the body types don't make sense. Like I love it. He was from another world, honestly. But anyways, I wanted to share that because I felt like he didn't get enough love, and he's done some brilliant things. I'm sure Eric Millar is going to kill me for not mentioning others because I feel it was so hard to do an aggregate of how many we lost this year. It was.
It was. I feel like I'm definitely forgetting people, and I think like Jiggy undoubtedly was the biggest one, and that's was
the
right
one
at
that
the
barked.
beginning of the year. Yeah, that was the one that hit hardest, and
And I wanted to share this. So in tribute to Jiggy, this is my DSLR, and
cool.
I use it to take photos of things, right? Because it's a camera. And but I was going through. I was taking some photos for Mary for her album, and I found these really sweet pictures of old Jiggy streams of me doing what I did with the Polaroid, which is coming clear, which is take pictures of the stream. And I have old Jiggy streams.
Oh, Eric Millar says Kevin O'Neill.
Kevin O'Neill, yes. Or not Kevin O'Neill, but wasn't fucking Neil Adams too? Now that I'm thinking about it, was that last year? Kevin O'Neill, and I think Neil Adams too. Fuck, if it was Neil Adams too this year, that is just fucking. I think that might have been early this year, but anyways, so these are old. There's some questionable players in those panels, but you can see me at the bottom there taking a picture of the stream, and there's Jiggy up in the top left. Jill. It's just these really sweet artifacts that I found. Yeah, and Jonocide. It was just really it was kind of heartwarming because I had forgot I had taken these for almost a year, and because I was using the camera to shoot some cool stuff for Mary, I found them, and that was a very moving kind of touchstone of like how much fun those us in lockdown and all the shit that we were going through. You know, me in Denver.
Yeah, that was a totally different chapter of your life looking back.
Fucking feels like every couple of months is a totally different.
Well, that's right.
Like, settle fucking down, please. Oh yeah. Eric says, yup, in April. Yeah, Neil Adams, the fucking creator of my favorite, one of my favorite Batman villains, at least the illustrator. Ra's al Ghul.
Oh.
Yeah, who I that was another. See, I'm gonna have another project now. 6 months from here, it's gonna be Ra's al Ghul, and it's gonna be all my like screaming break beats. It's gonna be
yeah. I want to hear Ra's al Ghul now.
No. But
I'm ready for you to enter your. I want you to put on a black trench coat and paint your face white like a vampire and just go full Ra's al Ghul.
Do white face in 2023.
Buy some fake blood from Party City and some plastic teeth. Just go the whole fucking 9 yards. Do it. Get a coffin if you have to.
Wait, can we get a screenshot? Does this come with milk? I'm testing out sayings, 2023 sayings. I don't think that's it. I don't think that one's going to go on a t-shirt. Does this come with milk? Sir, I'm going to need to see your license registration. Does it come with milk? But anyways, I love all of you. Let's get a round of last words. I'm glad we're laughing because I did not want to end on
laughing. Yes, let's not get too somber here.
Yeah. Come on, JJ, lay it on me. What's your philosophy?
Oh, just keep on keeping on. Keep creative. Don't get stuck in the vastness of the space, and be forgiving to yourself, and don't focus on everything being so perfect and precious. I mean, that's what I've been saying for a while, but
I love that. Yeah,
I think that's where it's at.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me on.
Oh, big love, JJ. I'm
been
so excited.
Very enjoyable, and thank you, Sam and Luxa and everybody.
Yeah, this is
Happy New Year.
I've really enjoyed this. Oh, it's us on a Polaroid.
See,
cool.
Talk about hauntology. I'm taking Polaroid streams.
Awesome.
Yeah. I love how how dirty my...
There is something so meta about seeing a computer screen on a Polaroid. I've just got to say that.
Well, that's what I was doing in the past with the Jiggy streams, and I don't know, like, we can't discount just because it's this kind of combustible digital nature of streaming and stuff. We can't discount how actually moving they can be and how transformative they are. And so, yeah, stream like this deserves a Polaroid. But yeah. Hey, here I am.
Hair kind of a mess.
Here just to give us your...
look better than me. I'm sick and I'm ready for bed.
Shit, man, you look better than me.
It's like very late at night.
What's that?
I said it's very late at night.
It's pretty late.
I appreciate
we're in the same time zone, so
I need to get some more West Coast friends. What am I doing?
No, Keats, you just need to stay up later. Or wait, no, get on earlier. Wait,
there you go. The second one.
I'm gonna duck out now. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We love you, JJ.
Thank
I know.
you so much. I love you
we're
too.
Just burning your oil. I love you,
Big love,
JJ. And
JJ. Get some sleep, okay?
Thank you. You too. Take
here's
care,
to
guys.
2023.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Good night.
Good night. All right. Sam, what about you? What are your thoughts? Just general thoughts.
I would
Carpet, good or
say
bad?
be kind to other people, be kind to yourself, and as long as you're happy and what you're doing doesn't hurt anybody, be who you are and don't give a fuck what anybody says about you. And that's all I can really say to anybody.
I love that. I think Rogue is mad because we're ending the show and I didn't send him a link, which I will next time because we all love Rogue. Happy New Year, Rogue. But especially, this is the one that gets me. Get on earlier. We can morning DJ after Ryan goes to school. Okay, so here we go. So that's awesome. I mean, you know, Mr. Millar as a father, you know, and a brilliant husband and everything that he does. Like, I got to carve out time for him, man. It's like, you got to jockey. Like, that's the hard part. I think, that brings us to the next one. Wait, does that go under space as a theme? It might go under space. Is that when you love working with people, it's not always on your time, and they're like you. There's no reason why if I'm, you know, working events or doing this new job that I have, like why I can't do this beforehand. I certainly don't need it to be the end of night or whatever. So that's something
Right.
I'm gonna think about. I don't need it to be at 3:00 in the morning for Stevie and all of our across the pond folk, you know. It doesn't need to happen like that. We can do better. And by we I mean me, because I am Venom. But anyways, big
I
love to
can
you,
do
man.
better too, Keats. I can do a lot better. I'm trying. I need a boot in the ass sometimes.
I just want to say, you know, I'm excited for you. Whatever you do, you know, you always have a place on We the Hallowed. We'll put out anything that you do. Even if it's printed before, who gives a fuck? That's the thing. Goldfish, public memory, you know. People still deserve to see it. Just because you put it out once doesn't mean everyone's going to catch it that needs to. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You know, that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, so I have the new instrumental lo-fi soundtrack score album coming out under Ectogasm. I haven't decided if that's with an S or a Z because I waited too long on that guy. Yeah, I love what Eric's saying. We can all do better together. That's what New Year's are for. And
there we
I
go.
am so
Rick.
excited. We the Hallowed, you know, it's all of us are so multifaceted. We do so much, and I'm just so proud of everything. Michelle, especially, or you know, she's been so consistent. Eric has, you know, I could learn from them. That's a big thing that I need to get to. I've been focusing more on Haunt Manual within Substack, which you can subscribe to at keatsross.substack.com. Sorry, I can
think
never do
with
that.
you know
But
what
I've
I
been
think
focusing on that
personally,
because
like,
it's better formatting. You know what I mean? It's easier to read longer things on Substack. So that's why
I
I've been
feel
doing
like
it.
with more magical experiences that come with the new year, like the more articles will write themselves.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of just kind of relaying those experiences into text.
I mean, my thing is like, yeah, I've got it. I need to transfer it to, you know, We the Hallowed, which I have been, but it's hard. It's hard delineating. This whole year was about delineating, you know, especially with Haunt Manuals. Like, I'm not writing it for the book just yet because that will be edited and figured out when the print thing comes. So it's okay to format for Substack and then format for an article for We the Hallowed. It's like, yeah, it's like learning how to construct the voices, for each medium. And if subscribe to the Haunt Manual, I mean, that's cool, but honestly, I would say We the Hallowed, and especially No Gods But My Own. I'm gonna type no thanks because I'm signed out, and I'm probably literally subscribed on like 8 different accounts. But No Gods But My Own, Mr. Eric Millar. It's one of the best pieces of work ever. And he does, he kind of sparked the idea in me that Substack can be a place where it's very just literature driven, and you can collect those things into a print form. So that's the big thing. Obviously, WeTheHollowed.org though is it's kind of been the baby, and now that it's new and improved, especially read.
I love the
Secret
black
Antenna
and
Michelle
white
Umbridge.
text.
Yeah.
Like the black background, white font, and like Eric's little emblem that he created at the top.
It's been a great
Really
year for
nice
this.
layout. I think it's easier on the eyes for like long-term reading too.
Yeah. Obviously, Pragmagick will still continue. I think what I've done is I've discerned that a lot of interviews and things I do, I want to be more congenial in the sense that I'm going to do them on YouTube for live streams. And then until I'm finishing Haunt Manual, the actual audio podcast may have some interviews. I know there's something I'm working on with JJ's and Bobby Hales that are working into something else, so it's not just the strict interview. And so I'm kind of taking back the artistic form of a radio broadcast and doing stuff like that for audio wise for the Pragmagick, podcast feed or whatever. But anyways, fucking enough about us, am I right? Yeah,
After
big love.
2.5 hours, I'm even sick of me.
Yeah, Jesus. I made chronological time. I was like, yeah, we should talk about this art, blah, blah, blah. It's like, thank God I worked with so many other people. If I just sat here and just talked about my own dumb bullshit all night, I don't know what would happen, Sam. I'd probably eat Lucky Charms for dinner. But anyways,
well, I have a box of Cocoa Pebbles waiting on me, Keats, so I'm not far behind you.
Yeah,
it's all
Cocoa
a matter
Pebbles
of
the mind. Yeah. Anyways, Sam, you have been just an absolute light for me this year. I love you. Thank you for hanging out.
I love you too, Keats, and thank you so much for letting me take part in We the Hallowed, and thank you for letting me take part in the Honquinox, and just all of the projects and all of the collaboratory efforts that you have allowed me to be a part of, and I value you as a friend, and I look forward on seeing what kind of adventures lay down the road for us next year, so hold on to your butts, as Samuel Jackson said.
You said it almost word for word what I gave you to say. You just missed a couple things in there. I appreciate that. Did you see me trying to mimic what you were saying?
It was going a little too fast. It had a glitch.
You missed it. You're gonna get docked. Anyways, yeah, big love. It's been quite a fucking thunderous year, and I'm really excited for next year. I think we've all found the aspector of ourselves to keep, haunting in the present, keep the things that worked, fuck the things that don't, and I mean literally have sex with the things that don't. Anyways, I love all of you. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you to everybody in the chat, and yeah, big love, everybody.
Big love and haunt on.
Here's to 2023, year of the Coy-Ote. Haunt on.
2023, year of the trickster, year of the coyote.
2023, year of the Lady Marmalade, year of the mannequin sock.
When we are doing the will of our true self, we are inevitably doing the will of the universe. In magic, these are seen as indistinguishable. That every human soul is in fact one human soul. It is the soul of the universe itself. And as long as you are doing the will of the universe, then it is impossible to do anything wrong.
There is this connection between everybody